This is profound stuff, by the way. If one gets this idea, what Howie's talking about, this is it. This is the holy grail, because it comes down to it's 24 hours in a day, and success is found there.
Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Scenes with me, Howie Coro, where my purpose is to share with you the skills and knowledge from myself and others to help you take your life to the next level. Let's go. First off, I just want to say thanks for taking your time tonight and, spending your time with me. We've only met here for about a week and a half, and, you really got my attention, and I can't really say that about a lot of people. But, one thing I've been wanting to do is to really start interviewing, thinkers, entrepreneurs, subject matter experts, and really just capturing their thoughts, where they're at, kind of, where they came from, where they're going, and just, make it super relatable to like everyday people,
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to do that. And I think video is such an important platform because we're actually, getting to capture this in time and really just share it with the masses. And that's really what I'm all about, is just trying to educate myself, but, really educating others. And it's super valuable. And yeah, man, it's not very often I come across people who are very like-minded like myself, but, who are driven like myself, but are like you. And so you definitely got my attention, and I figured I want to, capture a video and get some of your thoughts and see where this goes, man. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Likewise, man. It takes one wise individual to recognize another, for sure. So it says a lot about you and, where your priorities lie, and, just the fact that, to share this with the people, or have these ideas, or create a platform for somebody, like you said, relatable. Because I think people think this success is like you're a talented person, you wake up every day and magic around you happens, and then all of a sudden you're successful. But it's just really, we're just regular people, and we tend to prioritize our time, attention, and energy into things that are actually going to grow us and essentially leave a legacy for, for our children and children's children. And so
Exactly. Absolutely. And, it's like, you hear so many people who have a well-known name for themselves, or a guru, whatever you want to call them. And, people get used to hearing that, but it's hearing it from everyday people like you. I think it's definitely more relatable, and I think it's really cool from the Boston area. Eventually, I definitely want to meet up with you and connect, because I think we're going to be friends here, through the future here for sure. So anyway, let's get this party started. I want to talk about the topic of really personal development. I know it's a wide topic, but I come from an environment where there's not a lot of people who are into learning and continuing education and pushing themselves. And, it's kind of, mocked and laughed about in my past inner circles. And I've, learned to grow and separate myself from that. And really, I want to get your take, man, and see your thoughts, where you came from, where you're at now, and what your future looks like.
absolutely. I think that, the more education we do, right? And let me just say, separate the formal education that is out there, and the way the system is designed is, there's 19th century knowledge taught by 20th century people to 21st century kids, and it's kind of a little bit outdated. And I think that as humans, when, let's say, a general education system was set up in 1906 by the likes of, Carnegie or Rockefeller and Rothschilds, it was designed to create a model, which is economy, to create these licenses to keep the masses motivated. But I think we're so past the evolution level of the mind, where we're so developed. If you look at it, called a nanosecond, from 1980s to what it is now in the last 45 years, or even last, let's say, 100 years, we went from not flying to about to go to the Mars. And, our brain matter increased its size itself. And so when you look at the evolution of a human, the reason I feel like we're so in lack, because we're teaching the old stuff. And if somebody would ever pick up a book like Think and Grow Rich and read it in high school, I think that it would set them off on this different path. So for me, I never got introduced to anything like this. I'm originally from Europe, from a small country called Latvia, and used to be part of Soviet Union, for about almost 100 years. They've been suppressed by the Communist Party, and with communism, it has its own pluses and minuses, but it suppressed people education, meaning that they said that the government knew better, or the people in power knew better, and everybody should just conform to one way of doing things. And so it was, there was never talks about personal development. There was no books. There's certain books were banned. There's certain music was banned. Anything that really elevated your consciousness. And coming to America when I was 15, I got kind of thrown into this. I don't speak English, and coming to this culture, and I don't have a father in my life, so I was kind of retracted back, and maybe even in a sense had to be an introvert, because it's not like I had a chance to speak to people, because I can only relate to I took ESL, which is English second language, so I could only speak to the people that speaks my language, but it was such a low amount of people. So by default, what do? You go inside, and personal development is stepping outside of your really mind, that is five sensory organ that look outwards for answers, validations, and solution, and start to look inside and saying, wait a minute, well, it's not about learning, really, it's about awareness. And I think it started there. I didn't realize that, because consciously, when we look back in our life, we realized we had some of the answers inside of us. We just couldn't put a finger on it. And as I start to progress, I think, in my evolution as a kid, I was always searching for something outside. I'm a very, let's just say, it's cold in Russia, so we got to move around. So I got to go. So I said, well, I don't have time to really, I don't really have a lot of friends to go hang out with. Let me go get a job. And I got so infatuated with the idea of exchanging time for money, meaning being an employee. I got so grateful that in America, you can come here at 15 years old and you can get a job and they can pay you for it. So I got so infatuated that I went into this employee world, and I was going to master it, meaning like I was going to be the first one in, last one out. I'm going to work harder than anybody else, because I figured that was the way. And when you're in your mind and you're searching for this intellect, let's just say, the goal is to control. The reason that you want to get more information, to control your current environment. And essentially, it's an illusion, but you give it a shot anyway. And I started to, work so hard to only cap myself off. Long story short, I found myself at 28 years old. I'm a general manager for, a large fitness facility. And I've been doing, I think at that job, I'm for about 3.5 years. I have 54 employees. I got that's somewhat of a title. I didn't graduate from college. So, making close to six figures. And I've always had a nighttime job. So because for me, I said, well, I can go home and just chill, but instead I could just go to work. So I worked at the clubs, the security and the door guy. So I had my fun. I liked what I did in fitness, because I went through like a personal trainer and all this other stuff. Then I got to the general manager. I was searching to make more money, to be honest. And
sure.
And I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I'm doing, no joke, 80 hours a week for 7 years straight, pretty much. And I'm so maxed out on what I can make. And this is my unconscious understanding. I'm unconscious at this point. No personal development, just straight hard work. And, I start Googling things. I literally Googled books on how to make more money. And the books comes out, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's like 32 million copies sold in 50 countries, 100 countries, 50 languages. And I read the book, and it blows my goddamn mind. And the guy's talking about, that there's this wealth education, that there's some type of a personal development. I think he might even refer to doing personal development instead of, like he said, what is your dinner conversation like? And I'm like, I don't even have dinner conversations with anybody. I haven't learned anything, because I couldn't wait to get out of school, because the educational system make you hate school, because you think the education actually happens in school. And we've learned that, in personal development, do not confuse schooling with your education. It's two separate things. And, that really made me look at saying, wait a minute, there is this whole world of personal development, because it was so simple. I said, I wasn't in a business of making money. I was in a business of getting results, because if you get the results, the money always comes with it. And I said, well, if I'm getting results and it comes from the way I do things, and the ancestor of doing is thinking, right? Because behavior, the way we think, like, this is like funny still in education, right? When a child does something wrong, you say, don't do that. That's bad. But nobody asks them, what are you thinking about while doing it? Can we change your thought? And so when I realized, for me to change my results, I need to change my behavior. I need to change my thinking. And it was like, oh my God, I just need to, the secret in life is you become what you think about. So I said, it's what have I been really thinking about that was getting me this behavior or move me into this action? to get me this results. And I just reverse engineer that idea. And I said, you know what? It's got to be 4 to 6 hours a day. And I'm the type of person like, I like basketball, right? So I will go and practice for 4 to 5 hours. And I don't look at it as practice because I love basketball. So for me, I get to get better. And so I'm this individual that I said, wait a minute. So if I got to get good at business and making money and things like that, I just need to understand. And for some people, they go, well, you're procrastinating and doing all this, but thinking, but really it's not. Because if I take, let's say, 10,000 hours and I master a quadrant, right? I master a skill or I master something else and I dive into it and I start applying the information, in return, I'm going to go ahead and get the results that the masters have, meaning that I'll get the income that they have. Because as we talked earlier, being a professional at something, or let's say being good at something, is not a matter of, hey, is my mommy, daddy had a, start. Yeah, I can get a jump start on it if I come from a different background. However, I still have to do the studying. I still have to apply the information and do the work. And it just comes down to really your level of personal development, level of understanding and application of that information. And environment plays a part, but obviously it's still, you're the X factor. You always, the personal reason why you're going to be successful or not. So I think that's kind of was a kickstart for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Usually it's, some kind of pain point, or, you get to a point, for me, I just got to a point where I was spinning my wheels, same thing, very young, right out of high school, I joined the military here. I was in the Army right before 9/11 in 2000. I actually was in boot camp when 9/11 went down, and a lot of things changed. The whole perspective changed in the military, and you never really thought about. Well, at that point in time, you thought you were not coming home. So a lot of things changed. But when I was in the military, obviously you're going through boot camp. There is a lot of suffering. You're separated from friends and family for so long, and you do a lot of self-evaluation. And that was really a starting point for myself, where, all I had was books, really, and I read a lot and studied a lot. And, it went through so much pain internally that I was determined to try to figure something out. There's got to be a better way, a better life, an easier way, and that really started my, personal development journey, and start reading books, same thing with me, growing up through high school, I come from a blue collar family. I was always into sports, working out and all that. I didn't really care about school, C+ student. And, but yeah, you get to that point where you're just stuck of, being in the situation and living conditions and everything else, and you got to think bigger. So yeah, that's what started my journey. And ever since then, I've, read hundreds of books, and, I continue my education and growing and everything else. But yeah, another topic is, I find a lot of people, they get so indulged in the personal development space, and they end up, I guess for a better term, is analysis paralysis, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
study so much and you get so much into it. You read the next book, where then you have no results. What's your thoughts on that? And how do you control that and not going down that lane of getting sucked into analysis paralysis and actually taking what you learn and implement it in your life?
Very interesting. There's a couple of ways you can answer the questions, right? I could give perspective on that procrastination itself, three different types of procrastinations that is there. But, when I look at the whole subject of, paralysis, right? So we're saying that somebody is indulging in so much information that they're intaking, that they're so infatuated with this, that they're actually don't do anything.
Mm.
But the so interesting part is, then what's the alternative? Because technically we're not a human thinking and we're not a human doing, we're a human being. And if you look at the evolution of your whole life, because the problem with, because we're judging from the mental standpoint based upon somebody else's action, saying that, well, you're procrastinating, you don't have results because look at me, I have results, or I'm the top guy and this is the middle guy. We're judging our own chapter 23 with their chapter 4, because I would rather personally, and this is, I find that on my teams, as a leader, I would rather somebody read books and do absolutely nothing with it than not read books at all, or to push them into somewhere or speed up their process and they burn out or they get too afraid and they actually go back into doing bullshit or not reading any books alone. So I'm not too, I don't find myself, as long as it's pulling them, meaning that there's some type of a resonance towards that destination, they're just uncovering themselves. And if that takes, let's say, 3 years of their life, that they take absolutely no action, and they absolutely, let's call it paralyzed, but they're going to uncover who they are, build the maybe confidence, so let's call it self-esteem. And then after 3 years, they're going to go ahead and become somebody or take their first step. In a grand scheme of 70 years, it's, 3 years of personal development is nothing, because I find myself, my story wasn't like, what I got involved in a business, I read the books and I'm like, yo, bro, let me kill this deal. It's interesting when you talked about the pain point, because I could truly relate and I think that, when we ask for something, I believe in the universal laws, and there's something called the law of polarity that says simply, left and right, up and down, hot and cold, male and female, the yin and the yang of things. The moment you ask for something, you're going to have to pay the price. And, if the branches of the tree going to go to heaven, the roots have to reach hell, and you're going to have some type of thing happens in for you. Let's call it a challenge, an obstacle, or, a test before the testimony, in a sense. That's really just destroying the old version of yourself, and it's forging you, just like you build a sword, right? You put it into the fire and then you bang it, you iron, you strengthen that sword. So, for me was, I got involved in a business. Let's just say I attracted an opportunity, and I went all in. I quit my job 2 weeks in, and my job was toxic anyway. I was looking to get out of it, but I went all in, and it didn't turn out very well. I've had some success at the beginning, friends and family around where people participated, they helped, and, we grew a marketing team, and then from there on, it just went to hell. And I got evicted out of my house. I got my car repoed. Everybody that I knew literally saw me as let's say I failed. In my own perception, I was a failure because I've talked a big game and it didn't go through. That threw me into this whole depression, lost 15 pounds of just no money for food, and, just feeling like a failure. But it was the best thing that happened to me, because it cut me off from all these other individuals. And I dove into the books, and I dove into spirituality. I started meditating. I started doing these things. So outside looking in, it looked like I was the guy that was in paralysis because my results was trash, but I was forging through this fire. I was becoming stronger, because it's really not about having, right? It's about becoming. And essentially one day you could just be, as Osha said, don't become, just be. I can be this version, right? The actor's technique. I can act as if I already possess the end result, elevate to another frequency where my goals and visions are located, because I hold them there long enough, and then the people, situation, and events will be attracted into my life. And as they say, success is not something you chase because it's going to run away from you. It's something you attract by the person you become. So it gives this interesting perspective. Who are we to judge those that are in paralysis? Maybe they're going through their forging, and we just don't know the full story, and we're just judging the tree from one side of it. We never actually see the other. So what I've learned in my experience as a leader, I don't speed up the process. And when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. And if we are the teachers, whoever is going to gravitate towards this information, let's say in the podcast, is going to be because they really need to hear it. And if they sit on it and play it over and over and over again for 20 times, I feel like I'm okay with that. And everybody's doing their best from their own level of consciousness and evolution. And, if I could be of service, wonderful. If I could point in a direction as a guide, in a sense, but I never try to speed it up anymore, or even, in a sense, judge. But I do understand that we naturally want to say, bro, I got the answers. Here you go. Just do it. And it's like, it's not really that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You said something, and you hit on it the other day, is the reputation of this material. I find so many people I talk about, hey, did you read this book, or did you do this? And they're always so quick to, yeah, I listen to on audiobooks. I hate reading. And I hate hearing that, to be honest, because I feel like they're missing on so much value, and they just kind of they read through the quick notes and they get the quick version of it, and they think they're getting that. Or, they read books real quick and they give them away. And, even for me, I have a good library collection. I'm very passionate about my books and rereading stuff and going back to it. But, I never really thought about it as you said the other day, is repetition is key. keep impounding that in your memory, including going to seminars or hearing the same people speak. I always debated, is that a waste of time? But maybe you could talk about, the repetition of this material and how important it is about reading the books and actually, dissecting the chapters and taking notes and journals. I think people miss that whole point on personal development, and actually how to take this content and actually download it.
Absolutely. Well, I don't believe in learning. I believe in remembering, right? Because when you read something over and over and over again, let's say if you read a book a second time, you don't actually see something in a book. You see something change within yourself. And it's like a step that you take. You kind of really go, I read that, I internalized that, because your subconscious, that's the part, right? So consciously, what we say is people read the books. Let me just say this. You got to do the work. Don't get me wrong. There's no sitting there under some tree meditating, put the incense on, unicorns come, butterflies, and your business just blows up. However, you do start attracting things because your thoughts they're not some whimsical things. They're electromagnetic waves that penetrate time and space. And because we feel like we're a physical being, you try to claw your way out by doing physical activities. When you understand everything is energy vibration, it's a simple idea. It's nothing of some crazy mystical ideas that been brought us from the Hindus. We can now have science. There's a scientific proof that your heart emits energy field, HEF, human energy field. And when we start to download subconscious this information, this energy, because it's just energy that you're picking up, you're internalizing, your subconscious picking everything around it. There's something called the RAS, reticular activating system. And it's really a defense mechanism. For example, if you sleep through the night, you hear thunder and you won't wake up. But if you feel a little creature crawling up next to you, you're going to wake up because it might be dangerous. So if I place my focus, and when I place my attention, I place my energy, I place my focus on this book on one page, and I read this one page over and over and over again, I'm going to pick up this energy that's sitting in there. It's going to subconsciously draw within myself. And then I'm going to start visualizing, I become aware, and I'm going to see how this can be applicable into my life. And, let's say I might use a simple system that Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich is, if I not only think about it, right, I read it, I think about it, because these are the guys you're talking about. I read the book. No, you're consciously skim through it. You never internalize anything inside, so you never picked anything up. I auto-suggest. I read the sentence and I read the chapter and I feel it. I go, what is this author trying to teach me here? And I feel the feeling of this stuff. So what happens is now I'm auto-suggesting into my subconscious. If you're people into neuroscience, it's this alpha state. There's a certain waves that your brain says. The beta state is when you're looking outwards, you're in like, survival mode in a sense. You can't really intake information. That's why you want to have your library. You sit, you read, you cool off. You're in the Zen state, which is called alpha state brain waves. You can intake the information. Even best if you're do the affirmations in the morning or before you go to sleep. Right before you fall asleep, it's called the theta state, which is between the subconscious and conscious, where you really intake the subconscious information. Because we got a lot of smart people, right? They read, no feeling, no subconscious. So they're consciously successful. They have their PhDs, maybe master's degrees or bachelor's, but they're broke. They have no friends. Their life is miserable because subconsciously they're projecting a different image in themselves. And it's so important what you said, to go it over and over and show up to the seminars. And essentially, it's even more wonderful. Pick a mentor, find a mentor, and maybe it's dead. Maybe the mentor is on a YouTube video. Like I've listened to somebody that died quite a while ago, but that man has changed my life because I've absorbed all of the content that man has on YouTube, and I'm able to really shift and have this different perception and remember these perspectives within myself. And once it's subconsciously in me, then I start speaking to people and people go, wow, that's so interesting. So I bring a whole, it's like a tool set or a skill set that you're, a good mechanic. So what separates a good mechanic is his tools, because he can do things faster. So the more of these tools I can be aware that I have within myself, when I go to now a business meeting, by default, I'm more valuable because I did my homework. It's like, why these, Steph Curry's or LeBron James seems like they don't miss in the clutch, because these guys spend hours and hours and hours and hours in the practice. So I see myself as like a mental athlete. I practice this muscle over and over again. And all of a sudden I have, let's say subconscious memory that I'm start speaking like this author, start speaking to somebody else. And by default, it makes me more confident when I go take action, even though I might still the same fear and be, let's call it in paralysis. But now I'm starting to uncover, I'm going, wait a minute. I have changed. I could see how my body is reacting differently. I can see I have this confidence, I have this self-esteem. And all of a sudden, you have this kind of faith that the process is working. Or even, here's a great metaphor. When you go to the gym, first time around, it's going to hurt. I don't care how many books you read about doing pull-ups. You're still going to hurt. And you're going to say, take action, right? It's going to be painful. You're going to feel the hot flashes. You're going to start get very antsy. Maybe you get an anxiety because you're speaking to somebody, to a client, or I'm like, I don't know that. What if they ask me this question? And you go through this anxiety. The first one, you might mess up, and you might feel whatever it is that the experience your body is going to go through. But then you saw how the client says, wow, I'll think about it. This is pretty cool. Let me go talk to my business partner. So you didn't get a no, you didn't get a yes, but you said not right now. So same thing at the gym. Once you go for a week, right, you go, oh man, I feel a little muscle here. And that's the confidence builder. Now you're getting out of that paralysis. You still did the homework. They say preparation eliminates fear. Is that preparation sets you up for the success. And that's now going, wait a minute, I got a little momentum in my mind. I always say momentum in the mind first, then in your heart, you have the faith, you feel it, and then you can start taking action. So I feel like it's like that 3-step process. But what you said is the most important part is the repetition of the information. It's not what you say, right? It's how you say it, but also how often do you say it. So I think you hit it right on point. The repetition is the mother of all skills.
Yeah, good one. Let's see. When you are trying to figure out, when you're doing personal development, do you pick a subject and stick with that subject for a period of time, or do you find yourself jumping around? Personal development is kind of wide, especially being an entrepreneur. You're trying to learn sales. You can try to learn marketing, advertisement. You can try to learn self-discipline, time management. All these different things fall in the realm of personal development. How do you focus on one particular skill, and how do you actually implement it? Do you have a system for that?
Yeah, I'd say that I break all the personal development down in 5 components. So you have the physical, which is, let's say, your body, what you eat, nutrition, because I still, I say there's 3 realms of understanding. You have a physical body, you're some type of a life force, essential life force that breathes, in a sense, whatever, religion people want to go ahead and speak about, whether it's energy, whether it's soul. And then you have the mind, which is mental. So I see there's a physical personal development, there's a mental personal development, how do you utilize the mind. You have the emotional intelligence, which is very important. Everybody cares about the mind. Nobody cares about the emotional intelligence, which governs your activity. Then you have some spiritual knowledge one should study and figure out, not who you are, because you don't really have a defined answer, but, just trying to separate yourself and take control over that mind, take control over that body, or maybe, let me just say, surrender into it so it doesn't bother you. And then you have the financial intelligence that one should consider. And I'm not big on the topics, as more big on the person. So for example, how would I find somebody? So let's say, one has to decide to become personally developed. And I think decision comes before anything else. And I found that big decision comes at big events. So you have to go to an event. You have to see maybe a speaker, maybe somebody you admire, or even let's say, if young people are listening, let's say you like music. All these music people got mentors. They really do. They really got mentors. You think that these guys are wild talking about money and women. No, they're quite understand what's going on there. They understand what the marketplace, these big label executives usually help these artists. Well, we're maybe supposed to, but there is a mentor. And I've always I said, who's my mentor listening to, right? Who is these people that I admire? Who they listen to? And I've always been able to jump. And I would say, okay, if I study this person, I like their story, I really enjoy who they are. And I go, what type of books are they reading? And then I read the people about the people that they admire. And then I go, well, who was their mentor? And I kind of hop back and I'll take my time. If I like somebody, my first guy, I remember really hearing that, I said, oh my God, this man is genius, was Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
And once I heard Jim Rohn, because it was such a simple way he delivered the philosophies, and he's so, he's funny kind of, and he's so soft and he's speaking, I was like, wow, this is like the grandpa that I never had. And then I said, and I found Tony Robbins. I read the book, Awaken a Giant Within, and I realized, I'm like, wow, Tony was a mentee of Jim Rohn. I go, wow, this is like a whole family tree. And then I got into Les Brown because he spoke about him. And I would just jump on all these guys and I would study it. And, I found at the end of it is, if you look study people that live now, successful people, and And by the way, in any industry, they don't have to be about successful meaning money. Success is a progressive realization of the worthy ideal, meaning that you have a goal and you're admirably moving towards it. You're already successful. If somebody wants to be a successful mother, they're a successful mother because they chose to be and they're actually doing it.
Yeah.
And then you look at 100 years ago and look at the presidents or maybe the generals, and then you look at 1,000 years ago. And I've studied, Egyptians, which is a 6,000-year-old culture, or Zen Chinese 10,000, or Hinduism 15,000, or Aztecs, Incas, Mayas, the Greeks, the Romans. All these philosophers or successful people, they might disagree on almost every subject, but they agree on one thing: you become what you think about. And so it's really about the delivery. And so, when I study people, I'm going, okay, if this is an expert in a subject, and then let's say there's 5 experts, go pick a guy or girl that suits your personality type. I'm going, I like the funny people. I like the ones when they're not too serious about it and they crack jokes. And I like those. And so I go, okay, this is the guy I'm going to study. And I'll spend unlimited amount of time until I literally can talk like that person. I can walk like the person. I know what they eat for breakfast. I know what their family is like. I know what their background is. I want to know all aspects of their life. And then once I feel comfortable and I pick up their philosophies, because there's really a couple of things make people successful. And I've always asked this question, what makes Howie successful? What about him that I could go and pick up this one thing from him that literally his life is built around it? Whether it's a charisma, it's a characteristic always. It's a charisma, whether it's enthusiasm, like Grant, is his transparency. It's like that man literally will tell you he's about to sell you something, and then he's going to sell you something.
Yeah, his energy is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And so I love that enthusiasm and this authentic self that he brings to the table with that with this transparency. And I've always studied people like that. So I'm big on more studying one person as long as the delivery is kind of my type.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a time management question. How do you manage your day? Like, what is your routine and how much time do you allocate for personal development? Like, how do you schedule that in without taking away from, business, obviously taking action and getting results? How do you implement that in your daily routine?
Great question. I think that it's helped to understand for the listener. This is profound stuff, by the way. If one gets this idea, how he's talking about, this is it. This is the holy grail, because it comes down to it's 24 hours in a day, and success is found there. It's like you might say today is whatever, we're speaking on Tuesday, and you might like Friday more than you like Tuesday, or you like Saturday more, you like Monday. But the truth is, sun comes up, sun comes down. These ideas are all ideas. The day, it's the same day repeats itself. And having a physical body, we're habitual creatures, meaning that we have to instill these habits. And at first, it's very confrontational because you don't actually add a habit, you replace a habit, because it's just 24 hours in a day. You're already doing something that's getting you this result. So at first, I used to look outwards for success. I thought the success was something outside of today. I thought something like, well, when I get this car, hey, when I finish this book, or when I get that, $100,000, when I get that $1 million, when I get that business partner, or when I move to this place. It was always external thing that I was always chasing, to only realize and say, wait a minute, I'm already successful. I got to start as if. And then once I realized, when I studied these successful people, these mentors, I said, okay, well, I will say that everybody's different. So sometimes you read a book on these habits, and you apply it, doesn't work for you, because sometimes you perform at different times of the day. I have people on my team that are night owls, and I used to be like, well, no, you got to wake up early in the morning. Well, it's really about, it's not what time you wake up, it's what you do when you're awake. So as long as the schedule works for you and you're okay with that, and you feel biologically that you're not burning out, then it's fine. Create the routine. However, I found a lot of successful people have a really good morning and really good evening. I know that I can last through the day. Now, I've always believed I said to myself, it's like this: what if I add 2 things a year? So 1 thing every 6 months. So I would go and pick up a habit, because my body is very interesting. I found that it doesn't like to change. It really, some people easily go, oh, I can do that. Or tell me what to do, I'll do it. I'm not like that. My body is not. So I said, okay, what if every 6 months I implement 1 success habit from someone else? And I would, I got that from Darren Hardy. There's a book called Compound Effect that he has. There's a great audio, secrets of greatest achievers on YouTube. And there's a lot of these success habits that he talks about this, I mean, it's literally all about the successful people and what they do, what type of habits they pick up. So for me, it starts the night before. First off, I believe in, that there's you can be productive during your sleep. Consciously, I might not be there, and I'm I have certain routines and practices where I could create some certain ways that I can be more productive during the sleep. I don't want to get too into it, but it starts the night before. It's how I go to sleep, to wind down, not having a phone away. I don't care what business I'm doing. There's a process of decompression in a sense, not putting in this, a lot of information and slowing that brain waves down, cooling. I have a breathing techniques. There's a gentleman by the name of Wim Hof. He holds 26 records in the World Guinness Book for doing things in a cold condition. He climbed Mount Everest in shorts. This guy swim underwater for 7 minutes under ice water, under ice cap. I mean, I'm talking about everything you think about doing things in cold. It's incredible. And he has a breathing technique that it will really help you decompress and really catch your emotional intelligence, in a sense, catch your emotions so that you don't overwhelm yourself. So I do a lot of breath work during the day. That's probably, if I can give somebody an advice, study breath work. I mean, this is the secrets of the universe, is doing the breath work every single day as much as you can. It consciously merges your subconscious and conscious, because breathing is something you already do. And if you consciously focus on it, you're able to kind of align yourself and allow this excess energy, this emotion, right? Energy and motion that's stored there, that we put in the denial box as we go through the day. I deal with that later. I deal with that later, because everybody cares there about financial account, not emotional bank account. So you want to make sure that's not overflowing. So it starts, let's say I wake up in the morning, first thing I do, it starts with the breath work. As I do the breath work, it brings me back to the moment. And let's say I normally, my alarm clock goes off at 6:30, but I don't really get up until I'd say about 7:30. There's about an hour if I start doing these breath work routines that I followed from him. I've been doing it for about almost 2 years now, and it really changed my perspective on it. It's not about the breath. You'll be able to catch the thoughts as they walk by, and you don't have to hold on to them and ride the wave. So, because most people wake up in the morning, what do? They grab their phone. The world attacks them. You get that bad text message. All of a sudden, you're in a flight or fight response. Your body's running on cortisol. You're not getting the good chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And so as the breath work, you align yourself. Then you do the gratitude, the affirmations. I send out this, two, I call them like electromagnetic letters in a sense. So if I think of a person, I'll say, when you're in this theta state, when you just woke up, and when you do the breath work, you can do a lot of internal work. It's not hard. The world hasn't started yet, especially if you wake up early. If think of consciousness as electromagnetic field out there, everybody's still asleep, so there's no interferences. You're the first one in the morning, and there's some benefits of waking up with the sun or before the sun. There's some scientific benefits to that, and again, it comes down to your chemical production, because we're intimately connected to Earth and the cycles, the celestial cycles around it. So, but let's say I wake up at 6:30, and one of the things I do, this is powerful as well. I'll ask myself that, who hates me, who envies me, or who doesn't like me. So, who's my enemy? Let's just say, and there'll be a name always. If you're really clear and in silence, the name will pop up. And instead, I'll say, you know what? I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a friend. I know that you might be going through pain, and I don't hold that against you. And because I believe that if I change my personality, if I change within, the outside things changes. There's some scientific research that was found that you could actually essentially heal other people or change the reality. Rumi said that yesterday I was smart, I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, I changed myself. And I changed that within myself. And I go through this process to bless two people with this electromagnetic mail, and send that good stuff to them. And as I go through the day, start with water. I think the nutrition in the morning is important, not having a lot of heavy foods and things like that. And then I go to the gym. I don't start my day, like I don't interact with anybody, very rarely if I really need to, but it's usually till 10 a.m. I start making, I've conditioned myself to make a lot of phone calls in the gym. And that's the only way I could do it. I literally condition myself. As I work out, I get energy. And as I get this energy, I have to pick up the phone and make my phone calls. And so I start my day that way. Then I do all my meetings and things like that. And I have some space for myself. I call it a controlled rest. Usually it's between 3:45 to 4:45. Then I go into a lot of Zoom presentations and meetings like that. And then in the evening, I do a lot of my prospecting before I go to sleep. I'll speak to people, reach out to people. I'm big on that. I reach out to a lot of people every single day because I found that, it's unlimited universe out there. And,
Yeah.
there's 8 billion people, and you never know how you can have a great connection and do a podcast together with somebody that, you just share the same vibration, the same mindset. And that's kind of it. And then I wind down again all the way through the night. But sometimes things change. I'm on my schedule most of the time. I stick to the main thing, the morning and the night. In between, I try to, plug in if I need to a little bit more. But I will say this: I don't listen to music anymore. It doesn't stimulate my mind. Only thing plays is personal development in the background. I know it's hard for somebody at the beginning to go, "Wait a minute, bro, I can't listen to my, this and this." If it doesn't grow me, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not interested. Like, I can have a lot of fun, but I'd say 4 to 6 hours a day, something either in my headphones or in the background is playing because I'm so committed to my growth.
Yeah, no, I am very much the same. Schedule and routine is very, very close to yours. Same thing. It's funny you say that. And yeah, this is, learned over the years of, studying the masters and taking it all in. One thing I do, I like to get your word on this. So I'm big on affirmations, and at night, I always do fall asleep listening to affirmations. I have a playlist off my YouTube, different topics, whatever I'm trying to work on. Let it be a gratitude, let it be finances. It could be all kinds of things. Anyway, I'll play that playlist of affirmations through the night, including going to sleep, and I get the whole theta wave. Absolutely gets in your subconscious mind. Do you think it's effective playing it through the night while you sleep, or is it just really mainly effective falling asleep that first hour or two?
I think it's to be honest with you, I think it's our subconscious picks everything up, because once you let me just say this, not to go into a lot of that brain stuff, but if you realize that you're not physical self, but there is a bigger invisible self, like this is my body and I move my right arm, meaning that like I've controlled it, it's my choice. Then it's not just that when this body rests in this corner of this room in here in Malden, Massachusetts, that you realize that you're bigger than self. Then every moment counts, that there's some type of a higher self. And to me, it's also is showing it, this higher self, that you're committed to those goals and dreams. It's not even that the information that is soaking in, which I think is, like I said, the reticular activation system is always working. It's your defense mechanism, because thousands of years ago, you couldn't go to sleep. You could rest. Sleep is not mandatory. Rest is. And the reason that I know that, because there are yogis that would be sitting 14 days straight without movement, and they're not sleeping. They're literally, awareness is here. They're essentially in a rest state, and their organs are slowed down, just like a bear would go into a hibernation. In a sense, you slow down the processes of internal organs. It's about 13 systems within your body that you could slow down with your heart rate, and then be all consciousness outside of your physical body. And they've measured it. They've used profound scientific systems to measure it. So it's not some stuff that is made up. There's some scientific backing behind it. But just your commitment, like you said, the repetition and commitment to the growth, because where I place my attention, I place my energy. And if I'm placing my attention as a conscious being, that I'm saying that here's what I'm speaking, I'm so committed, I'm willing to listen to it all night, every day, all day. This is what my frontal energy goes, and whatever energy flows, right, attention goes. And they say that seek the kingdom of expansion, and a path will reveal itself. It's in the Bible, and we're focusing continually. There's, by the way, 2 reasons people stay in poverty and fail in life. It's the poverty of imagination and a lack of focus, but it shows that you're so focused and committed. Then this infinite intelligence that out there, because it doesn't care, it's not biased. It doesn't care if you're black or white, or if you're evil or if you're good, as long as you're focusing on something that it has to put there, and it's going to give it to you. So I believe that in scientific way, it's mostly important, but I believe also in some, let's just call it a metaphysical or spiritual way, it's also important, showing that commitment that, I listen to, I have this Deepak Chopra meditation that I played. I think I've been playing it, no joke, every day for 3 years straight. And there's a Bob Proctor. I really enjoy his Think and Grow Rich audio. There's also Earl Nightingale short version of it. I'll put that on a replay. Just a little, actually, site. Make sure that I know you do, I'm sure, but get the premium YouTube so you don't get the commercials. So you're sleeping over there. It's a 45-minute commercial playing.
Yeah, you always gotta hit the button and correct it.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, listen, one more last question and I'll let you go. Who are you studying right now? Who are you hooked on? Who's got your attention? And, who's that go-to person right now?
I have two guys. Let me just say this. I wanted to get my first level of financial freedom, meaning make enough residual income so I don't have to go to work, so that I can enjoy that. Being somewhat of a enthusiast in the personal development realm, I like it stimulates my body, right? Like I said, the music doesn't stimulate my body as personal development, and I enjoy this. I enjoy this. I feel like that's my gift. I'm able to intake a book, which is a large amount of information. I'm able to process it and give it to the people in such an easy way to understand. And I could speak to somebody that's a poor man. I could speak to a middle class. I can speak to anybody and give them that they're looking for. I can speak to a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu. I've learned that is my gift. So I tend to study very high, let's just call it high intelligence information. There's a gentleman that passed away that I spoke about. His name is Alan Watts. I really enjoyed his perspective on life. He could be a little rude and funny, and all these, let's just call him spiritual gurus are. And he's a very interesting story. He's an English guy that went and lived in Japan with samurais and Zen masters and all these gurus, and a lot of speaks about a lot about Taoism, and it's a very interesting perspective how he speaks on. But he's a Western man, meaning that he's just like us, but he gives this perspective, and he's very funny when he does it. But it can be, he has his own taste. So I study him as much as I can. I really enjoy that. That's kind of like my personal stuff. And there's a gentleman that really got me out of my depression when I went down to this rabbit hole and I was in a dark place. And if somebody that's listening, you are. I've spent probably 6 to 12 months every day listening to this man, as much content as possible. And his name is Sadhguru. He actually has a school here of inner engineering, and it all he speaks about internal, kind of like belief systems and how we tend to create suffering with the mind and we live in the past. But the way his delivery is, it was really profound to me. He doesn't, he can speak to anybody as well. It's very simple ideas, but it's just who he is. And I believe he has the largest volunteering group as well, like 7 million volunteers in his organization. So, he's a profound man. I don't know how many he's active on social media as well, with 3 million followers and such. And he travels around the world for the last 25 years. Incredible story. This man's story is incredible. And he doesn't read any literature. He doesn't read any books. It's all through meditation. But you listen to him, in my mind, he's the most intelligent, profound person that is on this planet. And his goal is unification and getting to people understand, who they're not. It's not really who you are, it's who you're not. And if you could realize who you really are as this life force, that you will never hurt nobody else. You don't need any man laws to put on it. Just understanding who you are, because it comes with a certain level of awareness. And those two guys I really admire. And as for maybe I'll throw one in for the business that I really enjoy, if you're really about that action, this gentleman named Dan Pena, and is a $50 billion man.
Yes.
And it's somebody that, if you've never heard of Dan Pena, please check him out. He is a character, and I really enjoy these type of individuals, because he's an old grumpy man. But as much as wild as he is, he does have a system, and he is a mentor to billionaires in a sense, and there's a reason for that. When you really be able to intake his content and say, really understand what he's doing and how he's doing it, man, it's gonna make you move.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He's one of those, definitely like shock culture kind of guys.
Yeah.
I'm very open-minded. I listen to everyone. Everyone's got a good message. There's always that golden nugget I try to get out of something. And I agree, man. Those are some great resources. I appreciate your time. Maybe down the road we can dive into particular topics of interest and go deep into.
Absolutely.
I love doing that as well. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you. If there's anything else you want to add, anything you want to, your platform, social media, give a shout out and let me know as well. I'll put it down in the description so people connect with you and learn a little more about you, follow you. And yeah, man, anything else you want to add? Go ahead.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram, Foreign Cultures, L Foreign on Facebook. Actually starting out, and as I mentioned, I think before earlier, I think we're connected on 10X. They have a page called Third Wave Platform. It's going to be a school potentially on Principles of Thinking Grow Rich, 13 Principles of Thinking Grow Rich. Feel free to follow that. Really cool content. Some of my people help me write the content on it. It's amazing stuff based upon Think and Grow Rich, but it's very profound stuff if you really understand it. So, a lot of content. We're going to do a lot with it. As for, maybe I'll leave with people with this, this is, again, very simple, kind of comes down to the management of those 24 hours. When you realize that you've never been into yesterday and you've never been into tomorrow, and all you have is, we call it this present moment, we call now. And, when you're listening into this podcast, and when you really understand, when you look at the time, it might say another time, but it really will be this present moment we call now. And when you realize that everything that you ever been and you ever be will be right now, meaning that you make your first $100,000 right now. You're going to be a millionaire right now. Hey, you might want to be a billionaire, and it's going to happen right now, and you're going to die right now. And I promise you, the only difference between yourself and this current now and your end result that you desire, or maybe your goal or destination that you desire, is really something about yourself that you don't know, but it's here, and it's here for you to possess. And so my question to you then, would be is, if all we have is now, what would you go after? Because, you setting a goal a year from now, or 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it's thinking very small. If you want to reverse engineer it, if all you had this present moment, and you know that you have to become something here and be something here, then what would it be? What would you go after? What would you want? And stop playing small. And like Grant says, 10X it. 10X your goals, 10X your actions, 10X your lifestyle, 10X your friends. Understand that all you have is this present moment now, and nothing coming later. Nobody coming to save you. They might be gloomy for first, but you realize if you can be here and you could find that power within. I've always said that, the light at the end of the tunnel, that statement, the tunnel is an illusion. The light has always been, it's been within you, and you have to look within. And once you look within and you realize, you have this present moment and you have this great power within yourself, you can achieve anything you put your mind to. It's really just a matter of asking.
Absolutely, man. Mindset. That's it. Got to get out there and win the day every day.
Howie, I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, it takes, one intellectual individual to notice another. And, anything I can do of any help in your ventures or anything you need from me, man, I'm always here.
Absolutely, man. We're going to connect for sure. Like I said, this is the first step, and this is me, kind of pushing myself forward here, reaching out, doing something that I'm not comfortable with. You're my first interviewee, and, I got my little setup here, and I'm in my home shop right now, but hey, it's about taking action, and that's what it's all about. So thank you. We'll be catching you.
Let's get it, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Hey guys, before you click away, I just want to say, please give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys got out of this conversation and what you learned. Also, subscribe to the channel. If you guys like this interview, let me know. I plan on doing more in the future and making this a real thing. I love learning from people, and I hope you guys do too. Also, make sure you give Al a subscribe and follow him on his social media. I'm going to link everything below to connect with him in the description below. And like I said, follow him. He's got a wealth of knowledge. He's got a lot to offer you guys. And I think you'd be crazy if you don't. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.